Okay, and see, I am here with Reverend. So, Udino,
Pastor. Assemblies of God, did you? I don't know God. Don't come Messi and patch of it.
It's you ever can say Pastor?
So Pastor Richard Oduro.
Pastor Richard Oduro.
Okay.
Pastor Richard Oduro. Okay. So you can use the headphone if you want to hear.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it makes it easier for us to notice when something is going off.
Okay.
Pastor Richard Oduro. But can you give us a little bit about yourself, like your credentials? Assemblies of God,
Oh, just as you mentioned, I'm a pastor in Assemblies of God. I'm an associate at Assemblies of God, Ghana, Anointed House Chapel in Achimota Mile 7 in Accra. Then I'm currently serving as the Greater Accra West Regional Director of AGCM. So I think that's basically
Greater Accra West.
Yes, West.
So you are like the regional director of AGCM.
Of AGCM.
So
Greater Accra, in Assemblies of God, Greater Accra is divided into two.
Okay.
You have Accra East and Accra West.
Mm-hmm.
So all the schools that are in the Greater Accra West region of Assemblies of God, I am the director.
Oh, okay.
Then we have another director at the East as well.
Oh, okay. So, like, we will say you are the good person for this conversation.
Let me say I'm an okay person for the
so
conversation.
No, it's not okay matter. It's like you are the right person to talk to because there's a very huge disconnect.
Okay.
I am close to the regional youth director of Midwestern.
Okay.
And see, sometimes, we encounter the issues and then we see some of the things. And then and I'm also a local youth executive.
Okay.
For like 5 years plus, Anna, Bibisa.
Okay.
And see, we see issues with the youth ministry.
Okay.
And AGCM.
Okay.
And auxiliary groups in the church.
Okay.
And see, we will start from the auxiliary.
Okay.
So, do you think it's a problem, these auxiliary groups in the local churches, in their competition with the youth?
When you say auxiliary groups, which specifics are you?
So I'm talking about YS.
Okay.
Pathfinders.
Okay.
Rangers.
Okay.
According to the Assemblies of God,
these are auxiliary groups. Yes.
They are not a department.
Yes.
The youth is a department, but they are competing with the youth.
Yes. Okay. I think that I think if systems were working perfectly within our churches, I wouldn't necessarily use the word maybe compete. I'm thinking that if those sites were working well and we are linking it together with the other department very well, then they should end up strengthening their other ministries so as we speak of. So you have, let's say, Pathfinders, for instance. Yeah. If you have young men who are being groomed well, if we are letting them have that sense of belongingness that one, not only do they belong to God, but they also belong to Assemblies of God. When you go to many of our churches, I think the challenge is that because of the multiplicity of programs and activities and stuff, people are torn between either being committed to, let's say, an auxiliary group or maybe towards a department. And I think that is where the challenge comes in. I think there should be, not necessarily dissolve those groups, but that connection between the youth ministry and the other auxiliary groups like YS and stuff should be there. So if we are sitting in a year to plan programs, yes, the youth ministry, youth executive may say to plan their programs. Yeah. But I think it shouldn't be so much in isolation from the YS as well as, yes, I know YS executives will report to the women ministry and Pathfinders will report to the men ministry. So those things would be there. But I think that there should be that round table where youth ministry, YS, Pathfinders come together to carve something that we know that this is what we are working with together. There shouldn't be that obvious separation for the ordinary member.
In reality, there's an obvious separation.
Yes.
And see, we have seen it creep up to the point whereby people choose to belong to one and not the other. In terms of ranking and Assemblies of God constitutional status, the youth is supposed to be superior to these auxiliary groups.
Yeah.
In fact, it's supposed to swallow up these groups
Yes.
and work within as they are all needful.
Yes.
But then we see a situation where these groups are competing for the same members in isolation. Because they are all existing in isolation.
Yes.
So if I am in Pathfinders, I don't see myself to be a youth member.
Yeah.
If I am in YS, I am not a youth member.
Okay.
Therefore, there seems to be a shrink in the population of the youth ministry. There has been there's like an age gap in the youth and the YS, in the youth and the Pathfinders.
Yes.
So should we scrap these auxiliary groups?
I don't think so, because I think the framers of the Constitution and the people who brought it up had an idea in mind, and most often than not, until you understand the idea that is there. Because I think if you take YS, for instance, possibly, just possibly, we are talking about having a structure and a program tailor measured for only women. If you come into the youth ministry, it is broader than that. Do you get it? So each of them have a specific mandate. I think we should find a way to get both of them to understand each other, bring them on one table, and let it start from the executives.
No, so like, should we redefine what these auxiliary groups are?
I don't think it's the word should be even redefinition. By what they are in essence, that is what they are supposed to be. But the challenge is that when you go to the grounds, they are not what by definition they are.
So for at this particular moment in Assemblies of God, even regional directors see a competition between these auxiliary groups, and a whole regional youth director is competing for the attention of these people. So sometimes you go for youth camp, and women ministry are also going for youth camp, and then they're carrying wives.
Okay, so when it comes to that on the regional front, I think that comes with the executives now drawing the attention of our directors and our superintendents to it. Because I think that, obviously, if there is women ministry convention, there is no way that they should also, if YS are supposed to be there, right? I'm choosing my words carefully. That is, if YS are supposed to be there,
it makes sense.
Then there shouldn't be in the sense that youth is also meeting within the same time, because you find the same group that are within there. Do you get it? So it's just like, let's say AGCM. We have a biennial congress that we do every 2 years that we do. So imagine that AGCM wants to have its biennial congress, and the youth ministry is having national youth camp. What do you do?
So one has to reschedule.
Obviously, one have to reschedule, because we expect that.
Sometimes the rescheduling is not a problem, but especially in a situation where there is a financial obligation from members. So therefore, if you reschedule to 2 months, 1 month, and the person is like, I go for youth camp and I have to go for this thing too, then it's like, I have to choose between the two.
Yes, that is true. And that has to come with planning, especially with the days that we find ourselves in. As I don't think that it should really be a national thing. I think it should be specific to regions. According to the way that we plan our things, we should now let's say, look at how best we think it could work. If we think that you should alternate between the meetings that they should have year by year, I think if you think that could work for the region, I think that you could do. Let's say I'm having Congress. Okay, if you're having AGCM is having Congress today, or let's say YS is having this program at this point in time. And if you look at the regional calendar, they seem to clash at every time. Well, it may have to be there, but you could maybe look at how, if you can let one work at a time in each year. So let's say you have regional youth camp this year. Yes, it is good that we do youth camp each year, but I'm thinking that if you think doing it each year, it clashes with other things and you don't get the numbers, then it could perhaps be better if you try to do it biennial between each of them, so that they rather change. But
now that's where I have a problem.
Okay.
why should a department alternate with an auxiliary group?
Now, you see,
So, is there no allowance in the youth ministry to cater for these people, even in that specification of need, which led to their creation in the very first place?
you can, but I am thinking that the framers and the proposers of some of these auxiliary groups may had also seen a problem over there, that these things were not being addressed properly at the time. That is possibly because of the way the youth ministry has operated over the years. They may have, because I think that I call something that when somebody says something, usually until you understand the context which brought about that decision, you may not necessarily understand. And when you don't understand, sometimes you may take a decision that will take us back to the problem that they tried to solve. So I'm thinking that if we think that this is the challenge that we are facing, you see, especially with the youth, when dealing with the youth, we shouldn't get to the point where it feels as though it is imposition. Because the moment we want to prove superiority, you give people the option of choice. Because in the first place, you can't force every other person to even if you decide to scrap off all the auxiliary groups. The fact that there is no choice does not necessarily mean that the person would still be forced to even come. Yes, it may help to a point. Are you getting it? So I don't think it should be a matter of, let's say, imposition in superiority. Maybe, just maybe, going forward, then I think that the regional directors, together with the leaders of these auxiliary groups, will have to sit down and look at how best they can make each of them work perfectly very well. If some of them think that, yes, they would want to merge them, then that one they have to take it up with the national and discuss it with them. But I'm thinking that,
like, if you run youth at any level, you will have the clash with these, and there is this issue that is even fueling the problem, where some of these how do you call it, women ministry in charge of wires and the men ministry in charge of pathfinders. So some of these mothers sell to these young people who are in these groups as though they should prioritize those groups to the youth ministry. Now that is where our problem begins.
Okay, that is for this region.
So it will never be specific or unique to this region. It will actually.
But I mean the example you are using is for this region.
Let's say.
Okay. All right. So I think when that happens, then that is wrong in the first place. Do you get it? And some of these things, I think that the time has come where each of these departments should be seen as very, very important to leadership, to all of us alike. Do you get it? Like you were saying, I think for many of us, we lack the orientation. Now, by orientation, what we could add up to the already existing structures that we have in our local churches is orientation. Now, imagine women.
Orientation of who? Members of the church members?
First of all, orientation of executives.
Okay.
Now, let's take, for example, let's say women ministry. In your local church, your women ministry have elections and they appoint new leadership. What is the process that we take them through? Do we have somebody who is stuck to orient them on the responsibilities as a leader and what the YS is about?
Is it subject to local church? Like this, what you're talking about, the orientation is
obviously
orientation
is
at the liberty of the local church if they want to.
It's left to the local church.
Okay.
And I think many of us have relegated that. I think for many of our departments, the similar things happen. So it automatically becomes in such a way that the way I saw my predecessor do the work, that is how I want to do. But maybe the way the predecessor even did the work was not right. Are you getting it? But if we are taking clear stance that, okay, once you are elected, we need to orient you. Now, in the orientation, let's say first day, we are looking at the responsibilities of you as a leader. Second day, we are looking at your responsibilities as a leader of this. Then the next day we are taking you through YS. The last day we are taking you through how these auxiliary groups also work with the other departments and structures that are within the church. Then now you have official communication, because you see, the moment there is no official communication, grapevine becomes the source. Because pastor has not told me that this is the way I should do my work. So obviously I go about doing the work anyhow. So for such, let's say, a leader, maybe the predecessor, that is what he said into her mind. So to her mind, she would then go out there to orient these people that this is what you must do. Then going forward, I think our local churches, that is leadership, must also be more involved in some of these auxiliary groups. In the executives who are chosen, do we know them? Have you met them? When you met them, what is the proper orientation that you've given them? Because what you are saying now becomes a problem to the region or to even AG. If this is the problem, then we as pastors on the local level would have to pick some of these things up from there so that we can let it work. As youth executives, what orientation do we give them?
So I think basically you are giving the opinion that the problem stems from leaders not knowing what their duties are. And I think it's true. It's true, because by large, when we become youth executives, not on most leadership in church, not many of us had any orientation to even know what Assemblies of God is. The history, the background, and everything. Now, I want us to jump into our main conversation. We are having a conversation today basically about the AGCM. AGCM. Okay, let's start with this particular.
You see, our mission is missions.
I never did AGCM. Let's say when I started Assemblies of God, I was done with university.
Okay.
So you can't. I didn't have privilege of having AGCM experience. AGCM is useless to the local church, or like there's a disconnect between AGCM and the local youth ministry, because AGCM is the youth ministry extended. Let's start from there. Is AGCM the youth ministry extended?
I think I will start with an exception to the first statement you made.
Okay.
AGCM is never useless to the church.
Let's build it from. Let's build it from AGCM youth ministry. Is AGCM an extended version, an extended part of the youth ministry?
If you look at the history of how AGCM has come, it's traveled a lot. Now, if you look at the caliber of people that you have over there, you could look at it and think that, oh yes, it was perhaps an extension, right? But if you look at the times past, it may not necessarily have been so, because
you take us through the time past, so let's understand what AGCM was.
Okay, so
and has been. Okay.
So AGCM, I think, started 1982, 1983 in KNUST, where a group of students came together and decided that we were going to meet and fellowship as AG members who were on campus. So that is where AGCM started with that. Now, what happens with that is that over the years on our campuses, if you go to, so that means that we had those who were in the secondary schools, then those who were in the tertiary, but I started from the tertiary. But at the tertiary level, at the point, the reason why I said that in the past you couldn't say so was because you had people who were doing masters, you had people who were doing PhD, who were still on campus and were still fellowshipping with AGCM. You go to some of our health-related campuses. Usually you find people who are already medical doctors and are still staying around, and they were still fellowshipping with AGCM. So for such people, some of them were married, were in the men ministry and stuff, but still, due to where they found themselves, if there were no AG church around, these people, we had many of them there. When I was in Legon, I had a lot of people who were in the men ministry who were in AGCM back then. Do you get it? So back then, we would not necessarily say that it was an extension. That is why if you look at where it used to be, even under the church structure, at first it was considered a little bit as a special ministry, sort of. Then later considered that it should be under the youth ministry. Then later it was considered it should be under missions. So that swap has been ongoing. Currently, we are under home missions.
Okay.
as a special ministry under home missions. Do you get it? So AGCM in itself, if you look at the AG structure now, currently is not even directly under the youth ministry. The AGCM national coordinator, my boss himself, Apostle Kroma, Assemblies of God, don't use Apostle, Pastor Kroma Awadi. Yes. God richly bless him so much. He's our father, doing a wonderful work. So he reports to the to home missions, to AGS through the home missions. Do you get it? So if you look at this year, the missions month, you see that all the departments that are under home missions, you saw that the first week they mentioned that it was publicity for AGCM. That is because AGCM is under that side. So today we can say that you have majority of the people who are supposed to be part of the youth ministry who are also in AGCM. But because of our structure and the way AGCM operates, it is not safe constitutionally to say that it is an extension of the youth ministry if you look at our church structure.
Even though, like, it is 90% populated by the youth.
Yes, by the youth ministry. Yeah.
Okay. Given the understanding you've given, then I get it. I get the reason why it could have, in the beginning, inception, not having considered the extension of the youth.
Yeah.
But at this particular moment,
Yeah.
it is 90% an extension of the youth ministry.
Obviously, you have that.
So should we not reconsider their position?
No,
just as you said.
I don't think so, because AGCM, it's very special in a way that it runs. You see, even with the way our youth ministry works, it's a bit diverse on the campus when it comes to Christ ambassadors. In the sense that, you see, you may have people from different group of people. If you look at the mandate of AGCM's target is basically the intellectual stock. So everything that you create over there might be targeted straight away towards the intellectual stock. Now, when you do that with the youth ministry, you collapse CA. That is because that would be discrimination at its best. Because if I'm there and I'm also not highly educated to that extent, many of the programs that you do be tailor-measured to suit them and not necessarily to suit me. Then when you go to the rural areas that CA is supposed to operate, how does it operate? Are you getting it?
I get the
so that is the main thing with it. I agree that there should be a place where both of them meet. Because if you look at the mandate of AGCM, it comes back to link up to the local church. Are you getting it?
We will come back to the link because as for that link,
I agree that there should be a link for that.
I
but
understand.
To bring it back under the youth ministry, I don't think so.
It should a matter of consequence. You know, what we are talking about is exceptional cases in certain places. Some places, the leadership of the AGCM are themselves youth members. Yeah. And then they are run, though the membership may be a little bit inclusive of other places, but I don't think that's exclusively should give us the opinion to qualify it not with the youth. Because, for example, some of these people are graduating from these campuses, coming out, and then they are coming into local churches.
Yes.
The umbrella they fall under is youth ministry.
Yes.
So I believe that if there is a connection, it would help in fostering their transition. Because I have seen what they are talking about, and I understood it from the very perspective that some places may have the mixture of people. They are not specifically youth, but then they may be mixed up. So giving them the opinion that they are under youth may not feed the purpose for which it is. But let's look at the AGCM leadership.
Okay.
How does someone become an AGCM leader? Or what constitutes, what factors into AGCM leadership?
I think what qualifies into AGCM leadership is basically what Paul mentions in Timothy, in the book of 2 Timothy. The person should, first of all, not be a novice. The person should be able to teach. The person should be. That's basically it. You don't even, in fact, to become an AGCM executive, you don't even necessarily have to be an AG member. Because take note, some of our chapters were started by people who were not even AG. That's the challenge that we face. Some of our chapters, in which have grown to become as we are. In fact, the people who started those chapters were not even Assemblies of God members.
And I think that's a problem. So how do we, I'm trying to understand the leadership. Okay,
Just
so
that,
you have sat in many.
Let me add a disclaimer.
Okay.
Just that for some of our stable chapters, there are certain positions, most often than not, only the president. That one is exclusive to an AG person. So let's say you have two people who are equally good to serve in the position of, let's say, a president. For some of us, not all. I can say just few. Because for some of the places, you are even struggling to get executives. So when you have them...
Why are we struggling to get executives?
You see it's one of the things that our local churches must have to look at very well. In the sense that, you see, we are raising a lot of, should I say, youth who don't actually belong to our churches. They come to our churches and we think they are part of our churches.
So you are saying that they transition to the campuses and they don't show up?
Now, the reason being that, let's look at the average age of our students today. The child, usually at the time that the child is at the children's ministry. At the children's ministry, let's check what we teach our people. Are we really concerned as to whether we are really grooming them to have that kind of affinity to our church? We don't do too well with that. Sometimes we fall lapse on that. So the person is in the children's ministry. The person is not even integrated into the main church. Perhaps if you are lucky enough to have a teen church, the person go through the teen church. It's in senior high school. In the senior high school, you've introduced the person to Christ. But what you don't know is that person does not have that affinity to the local church. So when the person goes to campus, if he meets a different church, the person may join because the person only thinks that, it is still Christ. So that is it. Then from there, the person transitions into the university. Because it's not like the past that you had 1 year to stay home. So it's from classroom to classroom. So by the time this person gets to university, most often than not, you have them knowing that they are Christians, but they don't have affinity to Assemblies of God. So they will come to campus. Some of them are in different churches, and they are doing very well.
Why is it that an AG member who has been in the church, seen the youth ministry, seen the local church, goes to campus and decides not to belong?
That is because I think it boils back to individuals and individual preferences.
Is it something like, are we not doing something right?
I think that...
Because it's scarcely to see the same problem with Pentecost.
Yes, I can say that we can say scarce, right? That is because, you see, the way systems run may differ from church to church because of structure. Do you get it? Now, somebody completes school it will surprise you that sometimes, even in the local church, somebody has gone to university, and we as leaders of the church or leaders of the youth ministry, we don't even know that the school that the person is. And for some of us, we may not even care whether that person is in school or not.
So that is pastoral deficiency.
I wouldn't really call it pastoral deficiency. I think I would call it maybe leadership, because some of these things...
If you're talking about church, it's pastor.
I don't think it's just... You see, this is where the problem is. The problem comes in. I think when it comes to AGCM leadership, are they ministry minded or not? I would address some of these things. I think that is where the challenge comes in. We have created this niche where it looks as if ministry is for a specific group called pastor. Let me say the former church that I was in. Now, the people who transitioned into tertiary institutions, I never informed my pastor. I was not even a youth executive. I took them upon myself as someone within the youth that they are my responsibility.
So you had no official position?
No official position. Okay. I'd never served in the youth ministry before. You get it? I called them, made sure, when they settled on campus, I tried as much as possible that those that I could visit within my domain, I went and visited them. When I went, I asked them, do you attend AGCM? They said no. Some of them, I had to personally introduce them to people that I knew could keep them. And trust me, when they came back, some of them, they were coming home to the home church. I drove them back and said that you should still be in AGCM. And we could see the transformation within a period of 4 years that they came in.
So, like, you did all this without
any official position.
Official, okay.
Do you get it? So that's what I'm saying with leadership, because we must get to the point that these people are important to us. So we must ensure. You were talking about some other church, let's say Pentecost. Before, let's say, a Church of Pentecost member complete school, a list has already been sent that this person is coming to school
so
by the local church.
No, I like where you have gone to. Administrative things are administrative things.
Yep.
We cannot spiritualize it and like disassociate it from us because it is not our style.
Yes.
It's an administrative process.
That is what I'm saying.
If you do it, it will work.
That is what I'm saying.
So we have a problem.
I'm not saying that we don't have a problem. What I'm saying is that now this come to our local churches. Are you getting it? If, let's say, like this year, there is somebody who is in the central region. I was just there when he sent me a call. He said, okay, I have a student that is coming to this place. And these are the list of people that are coming from this area to your region. Would you please attend to them for me? Today, they are in AGCM. We have made sure that they are well established in there. Do you get it?
It makes sense.
But if we don't have this data...
So you are saying that this particular activity or action by this person is not a district or regional sanctioned activity that is being done currently?
No.
So how do we then feed our church?
Our church as in like a local church?
Yeah, how do we feed the local church? Because all these things are like, imagine somebody spends 4 years disconnected from AGCM or Assemblies of God. And he spends majority of his time on campus, finds affinity with other ministries.
Yes.
Automatically, we are going to lose these people to these things.
I think it starts with, first, the local church being interested enough to know that these are people that are completing school. Let's be so concerned enough, first one. The second thing now comes in. Who becomes the regional director for your region? Regional director of AGCM. Are you getting it? I won't say that this responsibility should even be given to EC members. Or I think these are basic things that we could do. In your region, I'm sure you have a AGCM regional director.
Yeah.
If this list is forwarded to him, trust me, once it gets to him, it's gotten to national. We are well aware of who is coming.
So, like, where should this conversation start from? Because, just as we are saying, I have noticed one thing, that pastors love a certain kind of members that sometimes they are unwilling to raise. They want a certain kind, a certain kind of members.
It's good that you said you have realized.
Oh yeah, so I see they want people in their, like, they want some of their people to be certain way, but they don't put in the effort to raise them in that way, because some people are raised in a certain way.
Well,
I have friends in Pentecost
who
were raised into leadership, and by the time they were almost getting out of tertiary, they were already in the leadership of the church in a way, because, you know, Pentecost, campus or off campus, leadership is almost the same. There's deacon. Deacons play, obviously, like you are always going to be a deacon, even if you are off campus.
Obviously.
So, like, there is that form of grooming into the local church. That is what I saw. So that's why that's where I'm thinking.
I think that if we as local churches are able to, like you were saying, personalize this and do it well. Me, when I got to Legon, nobody invited me to AGCM. You get the point? Why? That was at a time that I'd been in AG for barely 1.5 years. I was new in Assemblies of God. But because of the way my pastor had dealt with me, because of the way I'd been trained, I knew that I'm on for this.
Your pastor, as in an AG pastor?
My AG pastor.
Whom you were under?
Yes, who I was under.
Okay, so he raised you in a certain way.
Yes, because he had shown that he was interested in my life. He was interested in me going to school. So I remember when I got admission, I went to him. He ensured that I was in school. Now that he had shown that, okay, so when you go, you're going to find an AG, we say over there, and attend. So that comes in. Do you get it? But the challenge is that we are having many of us who may not necessarily have somebody. Yes, some people, they may not have had one-on-one with my pastor, but to them, they had me. Are you getting it? So if we have people who are bent, interested in the lives of these young ones, to ensure that we groom them in these leadership things, even right from home. I think that by grooming the person in leadership in AG, the default for the person when the person gets to campus is to look for AGCM. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
Then the other side that we are adding up now, trying to do very well, is to also publicize AGCM also to people. Because for some of our people, they don't even know what the AGCM is. Some of them have never, in fact, heard about AGCM.
It is as strange as for youth, for there to be a local church who doesn't have a youth ministry. Which is actually the fact in now, today, Assemblies of God.
Yeah. That
how is it that a pastor runs a whole church and does not believe in youth ministry, so does not even start a youth ministry to talk of even grow like...
Oh, that one, I'm here to see one.
Oh.
I'm here to see one.
It is a fact that some pastors do not believe in the youth ministry.
Well, if you say there could be, but I'll really be surprised that the person is an AG pastor, you don't believe in youth ministry. I'll really be surprised.
A certain pastor in a local church never had any youth attend any youth camp.
Okay.
There was no youth gathering or whatever it is.
And what was his reason for no youth attending the camp?
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't feel like it is that relevant a thing to take his time, or maybe the church is too young and he feels. I
think when we say maybe, then we are doing a lot of conjecture for them.
No, I'm not going to point hands or point fingers or.
Oh no! What I mean is that is it like, let's say the youth executive. Okay, so when you came back, did you, let's say, get close to the pastor to ask the reason why he didn't get any participation from the youth camp or something?
Well, the regional directors will know. They are the ones who talk to the
well,
pastors,
if they I would.
But I am very much aware that there are some people up to today, they have grown in Assemblies of God to the university level and never had a camp experience at the youth level.
Okay, I think that's true for some people. That's true for some people, but it puts a lot of work also on us as leaders. You see. Especially, I'd go back to the psychology of leadership. You see, the generation of youth that we are leading, the Gen Zs and the millennials, they don't think like the baby boomers. You see, for the Gen Zs, you see, in the past, for many of our churches, you can just come and put anything there, and once you put it there, you've hammered it and hammered it and hammered it. You should expect that they will be there. This crop of youth need to be convinced to be there. The fact that you come and say, oh, it is a church that is organizing, it is youth meeting, it is youth camp, may not necessarily convince many of them. So maybe we as a youth ministry, would have to also look at different ways of trying to get some of these people, right? Understanding their psyche, what they think about the youth camp, their reasons, then try to see what we think we can do better. Because it will be very easy for us to sit back and just assume. You see, I've heard of some churches where the church will even rent a bus and the youth themselves will not get into the bus to come for youth camp.
So let's even use that as a case study. if something like that happens, what is it communicating? Is it some like nothing in the local church should? We cannot point any responsibility in the local church and bypass the pastor. It sits on the premise of the pastor's bias.
It will sit on the pastor one, but it would also sit on the leadership of the youth that are there. Because if regional youth draws a program, disseminate it to the district. Now, whose responsibility is to get it to the local church? It's been brought to you, the youth president that is there. The best the pastor can do, okay, I've informed you. Okay, make sure that you get me this. He has taxed you. Do you get it? Now, ministry is in such a way that sometimes, because of the way ministry is, the pastor may not be able to be down with everybody to be able to convince them and get them to do that. Now, what is left with we, the youth ministry, youth president, youth executives? Now, our responsibilities now, who are the people that we have in our church? What is the kind of people that we have in our church? If I tell you what we go through to be able to get executives for AGCM year in, year out.
Now, I want to get there. Because like, you see, so that even fuels the same idea why AG does not breed a lot of pastors. There is little interest in people wanting to become AG pastors.
Oh, I think out there, that's actually not true. If you are privy to information like maybe I am privy to, Assemblies of God is perhaps the only place that every year we have to reject people from going to Bible school, and lot and huge number of them for almost every region. I don't know for maybe this region, but at least for some few regions that I'm privy to, there are several people that line up every year and they are rejected. Are you getting it? So I think that basically boils down to one, but there would obviously be some who would have that. And it's something, I think last year I was addressing something like that with some students. And when I ask questions, I noticed that it is basically two things. Misinformation, right? Two, the lack of understanding about what ministry is about. Misinformation in the sense that let me use myself as an example. Before I went to the Bible school, I'd heard a lot and seen a lot about Assemblies of God. And at a point, I felt, would I necessarily really want to be in this ministry? But when I got close and got into Bible school, I noticed that about 95% of all the things that I've heard is not really organizational problem. It is rather with the pastors.
Now, don't you think also what's the things we were hearing from pastors?
That is what I'm saying.
So if a pastor of Assemblies of God stands on the pulpit and say that, don't just wake up and go to the Bible and think that you are going to become an Assemblies of God pastor. You must think about it carefully. Consider it well. Because it's not easy to be an Assemblies of God pastor. You get my point? Like, if a pastor is preaching that, I promise you, we would not want to become any Assemblies of God pastors. That's
what I'm saying. That's when I say misinformation. Are you getting it? And misinformation can come from leadership, can come from pastors, can come from members, and everywhere. Are you getting it? Because sometimes some of the things that some of the people would tell you, one of the things that I've learned in my short life in ministry is that when somebody tells you something, be certain to get to the root of it. Because most often than not, what you hear about it, especially if it has to do with ministry, you may go into it and come back to see that, the person who was actually telling you this is the reason why XYZ was saying that. Because maybe
his own bias
his own biases were there. Are you getting it? Because the way they made it sound, and my AGCM people, it happens to them. Some of them,
but it happens every time.
In their minds, it is as if entering into the Bible school is World War II. And I'm like, you've served as an AGCM executive. Do you get it? If you have the call of God upon your life, the church has systems and structures.
We will go
through that.
That's one.
That'll be good.
Let's just pause. Okay, so let's start the conversation from this point.
Okay.
Majority of AGCM leaders who graduate, oftentimes than not, are irrelevant to the local churches. Why do you think it happens, or have you seen that kind of trend?
I would rather go for some. I wouldn't go for majority, because
Okay, some.
now if you look at even at Assemblies of God, if you look at the number of AGCM people and how they are doing in our local churches, and even some becoming pastors, now I can count of so many of them who are even regional youth directors that I know now across the regions in this country. So I think that some of them are not really active in their home churches. That one, it's admissible. But
So is it not
majority.
because of what you said earlier? Like, you don't necessarily need to be in Assemblies of God to be an executive. As long as you are an active person on campus, you can become an Assemblies of God leader.
Okay, so I don't
AGCM
think
leader, let me say.
the motive for you not necessarily being an how do you call it? Not necessarily being an AG member is because not all AGCM members are Assemblies of God members, even from home.
Yeah.
There are some of them who come to campus. They are
For membership,
from
I
one
think it's not a problem.
but the person
But
has
leadership,
the person has been an active member. Do you get it? In every local church, just like in Assemblies of God, you have what qualifies you to be an active member.
okay,
In the same way, you go to AGCM, the person is active, is part of a department, is active in the department, the person pays his tithe over there, automatically the person becomes a member. So if the person is good enough to be able to do all these things, you don't see the reason why, if the person can serve, that person should not be allowed to serve. The person should
no,
be
for
allowed
me,
to serve.
like hearing the background you gave,
Yes.
so that has set the premise that Assemblies of God itself is not bothered about members' leadership on a campus level. It's just like anyone who is active and shows like seriousness with the ministry on campus can become a campus leader.
No, Assemblies of God is interested. That is why in the campuses, Assemblies of God makes sure that whoever becomes an executive is approved by Assemblies of God. You don't just become an executive.
Who approves it?
Your regional director. The regional director is supposed to be at every vetting. Are you getting it? So he is supposed to be in charge. We have what you call a regional executive committee. They are supposed to be in charge. So when it comes to the vetting process up to handing over, we call it that it is a national program. It is not a local chapter program. So they are supposed to make sure. So you obviously, depending on the chapter, every chapter has a way that it goes about it. There are those who do elections. There are those who go by appointments.
Okay.
But all these are still overseen by someone who has been appointed by Assemblies of God. Like I have been appointed as director. I ensure that for every one of my chapters, the veterans, I am there. And I make sure that the proper thing and the good people are gotten over there. Do you get it? The whole thing is that because it's just like, let's say when I was in senior high school, I was a Pensa member. I was not attending Church of Pentecost. Do you get it? Yes, I became a Pensa executive. Why? Because back there, I am committed to doing that. Do you get it? So once I'm a committed member and I do everything, I'm a member of that over there. So in the same way, that happens. And I can give you countless number of people who joined AGCM, were not AG people, and they finished serving as AGCM executives and had to find AG churches to attend of them their own accord. They left the churches that they were in and they decided of their own accord just because of what they had in AGCM. Are you getting it? So it goes both ways. There's just some few chapters that I think are very peculiar that, let's say, the president, you say that it should be an AG person. As for that, it is non-negotiable. So if you have two people, one from a non-AG background and one is from AG background, that is it. Now, to what you were talking about with your question, I was telling you about what we go through to be able to get some of these people to serve as executives. And earlier on, I had mentioned to you what I call the psychology of leadership that we have today. You see, the Gen Zs, these Gen Zs that we have in our campuses and even in our youth ministries, many of these people, you see them on the campuses and we think they are active. The question that we have to ask is, how did they become active? I can say on authority that many, if not most of these people are nurtured into the position
By
the executives who are there. Are you getting it? Because when these people come, they are all over the place. Sometimes they are not even the same way that you see them in the local churches. That's the same way that they are back there. Do you get it? But what happens is that we don't know how AGCM is able to do it, but they are able to still see something good in this person and say that, no, this person is very useful to God. So our mandate is to actually build and maintain.
okay. So let's talk about this. Is the campus ministry? For example, like I've heard this severally from a lot of AGCM leaders.
Yeah.
Issue of funding.
Okay.
How does the AGCM handle that one? Like funding. How is AGCM funded?
Okay. So AGCM operates just as Assemblies of God operates. The moment you are part of an organization, then you have to see how the organization works. And just as you know, Assemblies of God, self-propagation, self-governing, self-support. So basically, that is what goes on with the funding. However, for what I know, for many of the chapters is that younger chapters are started off by already existing strong chapters.
Okay.
So let's say Legon would start. So Legon campus started Kolebu campus. Legon would start, let's say Methodist University. So when that happens, then it's Legon that now takes care of that chapter until at least it is able to get to an appreciable level that it stands on its feet. So that's basically how it runs.
But then, do you believe that the AGCM, most of them have funding challenge?
Oh, many of them would obviously have many challenges, as our local churches. Many of our local churches will have their funding issues. They will still be there, and I think that as long as we are in human existence and we have so as long as we keep growing, our chapters keep growing, and we want to do better, obviously we're going to have, because our needs and our wants are insatiable. Some of them, even what they need is very, very desperate for them. So sometimes when that comes in for some of the regions, I can't speak for every region, but for some of the regions, yes, we are able to go into some ways that we can raise funds. Most often than not, we use many of our alumni in our fundraising.
Do you think that principle is that idea of self, you have to run the ministry by yourself and everything? Do you think at a campus level we could tweak it to help? Because not all campuses have a very sound financial strength. Some of them are struggling, just as you said. Some of them have some support coming from some alumni and stuff. Some have there's no luxury of that. So what do you think can be done to help? Because like some of them, they are actually just struggling.
Oh, it's there, and I understand that a lot. Yes, I think that yes, as a church, we may be able to do more. That is, if there is capacity to do so. Do you get it? Because the way our system runs makes it a bit difficult to be because they're funded and all those things. But if the regions can, if national can, fine, that is there. Do you get it? But we always encourage our people that sometimes many of the reason why we have some of these challenges are also because we have not established a strong bond with our alumni, because that is our basic base. And AGCM has numerous people doing wonderful things in different places.
But why do AGCM feels they have alumni? Is it because alumni is like something related to the, what do you call it, the university campuses? Because they have these alumni and these secondary schools have these alumni and stuff.
Yes.
So that's why you rely on the alumni.
Yes, that's why we rely on the alumni.
But these alumni to our church members, they are somebody's church members.
Obviously, they are somebody's church members, but they are still alumni to the chapters that they were part of. You get the chapter give them something. Now it's just like this. Just like, let's say I'm a member of your church here, right? Then let's say work takes me to Accra. So when I go to Accra, I join a different church over there. So I'm there for a while. Let's say throughout the year, I spend like 6 months over there. Then I come back here. I also spend 6 months. That is what usually happens. And I've been there. If I get to a position of help and this church needs help, I don't think it is wrong to be able to help. Are you getting it? Because if for nothing at all, it's also fed me. It's been my home. Most often than not, when they are in school, I think they may end up spending even more time on the campuses than here. So once they are in the capacity to help, I don't think that prevents them from also helping in their local churches. Once they feel that they will be able to help, I think we count on them. And usually we bring them back to campus, because sometimes what we need from them may not even necessarily be money. Some of them, the expertise that they have in several fields, these children needs them. So we bring them back. They are part of it, and they really help us a lot.
I've heard this thing from some of the some people I know who have been AGCM executives before. Yeah, so they speak of some quota. What is that one?
Yes, quota is like what in Assemblies of God you call your 20% tithe that you pay, right, to the running of the national, right? So when we call it quota, so it comes with every chapter, depending on your strength, then they decide how much you ought to pay. Are you getting it? Because per Assemblies of God, what happens is that when somebody is on campus, the person does not pay tithe to the home church. The person pays tithe to AGCM. You get it? So if the person pays tithe at home and a fraction is given to Assemblies of God Ghana, why should that same person pay tithe over there and the fraction is not given to Assemblies of God? Do you get it? So that is what the national office uses to run.
So it's like the national AGCM.
Yes, the national AGCM uses to run, just as our headquarters also uses to run Assemblies of God.
So I mean, there was one time an issue. This young youth AGCM leader was running the ministry on the campus level, doing everything that they were supposed to do. And then they were told that particular year there was not going to be missions.
They were told?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of financial challenge.
Okay.
But they were required to still provide their quota. And for them, it was difficult for them because they don't have money. They were not able to do missions, but then they were still expected to provide the quota. I want to understand this whole quota matter and the running of the campus ministry. What is it like? How is it? Now, where is it?
Now it comes with this. It's just like a local church telling you that I've taken tithe. Yes, I will still not pay my 20% to national because I think I have needs. Are you getting it?
So the national doesn't, like, as long as you have collected the money, you are still supposed to.
Now let me explain that very well so that you don't, because I'm using the AG example of the 20%. If you don't take it, you may construe it to mean that so that place to every tithe that you take 20%. No, that is not it. We don't have every region has a categorization that you use to give to the chapter depending on their strength. There are some of the churches when you look at them, you can't even give them quota. Are you getting it? That is because
so wait. So the quota is what? A predefined amount to
yes,
pay.
a predefined amount to pay. Because
regardless of the income, do you check the income?
Submit accounts
before.
So the accounts that you have submitted for, let's say, the past 2-3 years, it's considered. You look at, okay, so then what is your current numbers? Because at every handing over, you also present a report. You know your membership, you know your attendance, you know your accounts and everything, which is presented. So use it, because usually you wouldn't want to use just 1 year to decide, because the next year may come and it may fluctuate. You get, so let's say over 2-3 years, this has been the average number that we are having. This has been how much we have been having in our expenses and all these things. Do you get it? When that happens, then you use that to now ascertain that, okay, this chapter must be 100 Ghana cedis. This chapter must be 50 Ghana cedis. This chapter must be X amount of money. Are you getting it?
So what is the what's the breakdown of the AGCM structure? Because, okay, let's say youth, we have the national director, we have the regional director,
so we have
the district reps.
Yeah. So
then
AGCM,
we have and
you
those
have
stuff.
your NEC, National Executive Committee, which is the steering body that is headed by a national coordinator. That's our national director. So he has, I think, about 5 or 6 other people that he works with, who serves in different capacities. Do you get it? Then you come to the regional level. Then at the regional level, you're going to have your regional executive committee. So you have your regional director, assistant regional director, then other people who work with him. Mostly, they are around 4 or 5 people who also run that. But that is headed by the regional director.
Okay.
Do you get it? So the regional director, he oversees everything. For my region like this, regional director oversees it. You have the assistant regional director who is in charge of missions. So missions coordination around within the region for our chapters. If they are about to go on missions, we are supposed to make sure that they get to the place, we approve the place, make sure that where they are going is okay, because it's people's words. So if they take them and something happens, it's the Assemblies of God that we will come back to. So you have to be sure and be certain that the children are safe where they are going and everything. So we do that, and we have someone in charge of finance and administration. So we have those things. Then you come to the local chapter level. So the local chapter level would also have the executives, who we have the president. Depending on the chapter, it decides the people that they have. Do you get it? The size of the chapter will determine their needs. Let me say, we decide the portfolios that they may want to have. Just like in a normal church, in a local church, you can create a portfolio that this is what you go to some churches, they have administrators. You go to some churches, they don't have administrators. Depending on the need of the church, you use it to rather decide. So that is how the system is.
So like at every level, so let's say let's look at the campus level. The campus level, what kind of support is the AGCM getting from? And I know they have a campus pastor.
Yeah.
Then there's the district, or there's the regional.
There's a regional director. Yeah.
So what kind of support do the region, the national, provide to the?
Basically, it comes with the way like the AG structure is now. I can speak to my region, because there I am. Are you getting it? Now, if let's say we have to start a new chapter somewhere, do you get it? A new chapter is about to be started. How does it go about? Sometimes when you are lucky enough, an alumni may come through to you. Then alumni maybe goes about and starts something. Let's say I'm a former AGCM person. Let's say I get the opportunity to teach in UMAT. And while I'm in UMAT, there's no AGCM over there. I can decide to start something. And that comes in. Do you get it? Then, as and when we think you need help that we are able to financially, but it is not, I'll tell you that it's not often. Do you get it? So when it becomes like that, usually you hand it over to a chapter, an existing chapter, which is well established. So let's say you can give it to Legon. Do you get it? So when this chapter needs something, this chapter tells Legon, I'm away. Ordinarily, maybe if you tell Legon, Legon may not be able to help. But if I speak to Legon, Legon will still be able to what? To help in that quarters, right? There are times that when you are going on missions, now the national is able to sometimes find maybe sponsorship somewhere for you. You may not have. Sometimes the region is able to liaise. Like last year, for God being so good, many of our chapters that went, we were able to look for churches which could fund their missions for them while they went and did that. You get it? So those are some of the things. Then obviously the training that they need to go through to be able to also do the work very well over there.
But so that training is organized and like yearly for a whole region or something like that.
Which one?
The training you are talking about.
The training, yes, every year you have to do, because every year there are change of executives.
So it is
and
done
the moment,
yearly.
Yes, and the moment executives change, you have to do orientation, you have to train them, make sure that they are prepared to be able to do the work. Sometimes you are even unable to do it at once, so you have to go chapter to chapter to do them. But that is part of the work that you do as a regional coordinating team. So,
okay, so let's say I've been able to raise $2 million.
Yeah.
My whole idea is to support AGCM.
Okay.
As far as their place of worship is concerned.
Yeah.
What will somebody have to do to actually support?
What somebody would have to do is to, if he is aware, or let me say, the best thing to do is to first look for the regional director for that region. Let's say you are in, this is Western, Midwestern, right? Look for the regional director of AGCM. If you can't find the regional director of AGCM, just ask any of the EC executives, the regional superintendent or the people. They will tell you who the regional director, because they know the person. You get that person works under the missions department. Then the person connects you to him. When the person connects you to him, the regional director, once he is the director, he knows the needs of many of the chapters. Do you get it? Then he can go straight away. But if you happen to be an alumni, then that one, sometimes you can go directly to the campus pastor of the chapter. I'm from Legon, right? I know the Legon campus pastor now. So I can just go to the Legon campus pastor and tell him that, oh, Papa, I have $2 million. I want to invest in, I want to build a place of worship for him. And once you inform the campus pastor will alert region will alert the regional superintendent, and all the other things that have to be done will be done. Because at the end of the day, if you even buy a place, all those documentation must still go to regional level. Because I may not be regional director forever, but the regional office would always be there. So you must run, so that just in case of anything, Assemblies of God will come in and still defend the chapter. Yeah.
So the reason why I was asking that is because for somebody to commit finances to support AGCM, we must now know, like, there must be that knowledge of the relevance of AGCM. So some people who became AG members didn't have AGCM experience. What is the profits the local church gets from AGCM?
One, the profits that AGCM gives the local church is committed, trained members. In the sense that, I told you that there are many, when you go to, that's why I said I can't speak for some region, but for some of my people that I know, many of them, yes, it's not obviously be all of them, many of them are doing great things and they are not even in ministry, right? And they are doing great things for them. You see, the kind of training that they receive. In my former church, for instance, there was somebody who came to Legon, and when the person came to Legon, she used to go home every day, and I told her, no, stay back on campus. She was a music minister, right? And she didn't understand. I pushed her, and she stayed on campus. When she was finishing school, and she got home, and when she picks the microphone and she's singing, my pastor could see that there was a difference. Because you know why? While the person is, let's say, in your church, he's local champion. But when you come to Legon, it is the champion from every church which has met. So you have to now put your A game. You are exposed to different other people. You have to learn those things from them. Again, as executives, what you learn as an executive, there are things that you may hardly learn them anywhere else. I always say.
You see, your experience seems very different from my experience, because majority of the AGCM leaders whom I have seen in my local church or within the district I find myself or the region, majority of them end up being nothing.
Yes.
as long as the youth ministry is concerned.
You have to.
So sometimes I feel like they were very good on campuses, but when they came back, somehow
Environment.
is it okay? So going back to the conversation of the environment. Is it? I called one of my media people
Yes.
on campus.
Yes.
And I asked her,
Yeah.
how is campus like? And she was telling me all the things that they are doing that are very different.
Yeah.
She's in Legon.
Yeah.
Telling me all the things that are very different from
Yeah.
what we do in the local church, the differences in the service, order of service, how their things are going, like all kinds of stuff. Like she's seen completely difference.
Yeah.
Are we not hurting ourselves as AG by having a completely different? Because when you go to campuses, you hear Mama Rita, Papa Samuel. These are not in our local church. These are words that we don't see. We don't call our pastor Mama or the best we call is Daddy or Reverend or.
Let me say that they are not institutionalized. When you, across chapters, it will be different. When I was in school, even those who were seniors, we were not calling them papas. It was later when I went to come there, I noticed, but mommy was there, where we were calling, let's say, somebody that we thought was ahead of them. You see, the youth has different ways of honoring people, especially when it comes to the campuses, right? I think it is maybe one of the things that sometimes our local churches suffer from, Anna. But when they come to camp, that's why I was saying environment. You know why they are able to pick them up? Because they come to meet it. There is something that we call church culture. The culture, when I walk into a church right now, I come with a lot of zeal, wanting to do a lot of things. But when I come, and the culture over there is that, oh, we come to church late, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do. Let's say, let me use lateness for instance. I am used to coming to church early. And imagine that I'm used to coming to church early. I've come to church early. When I came first time, we did opening prayer a long time. Not because opening prayer is 30 minutes, but because we are waiting for those who are not there to come. So I come first time, I come second time, I come third time. The fourth time I would learn. Now, because if I come early, you will punish me. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
Then if that is so, then let me also come late. So before you realize
the culture
that I came with, I have to now adapt.
You have to adjust to whatever is.
You get it? Now these students come to campus, and many of these people, they see people of their age doing these things. Now take note, in leadership, there are those who have that natural intuition to do. There are those who must be spurred on to do. So this young person, for instance, for all you know, the reason why she gets joy in that is because somebody pushes her to do. And how that person pushes her, we may not even know. It may be a different way because it may differ across different people. You see, these Gen Zs are not most often than not intrinsically motivated. It is extrinsic. They don't really care so much of what you tell them until you make them feel that they care, until you make them feel that you care. So you may call me, oh, Rich, do this work for me. Just because you told them that do this work for me, that person may not do.
If it comes from the person himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you could call this person, oh, okay. Now look at the challenge that we have here. X, Y, Z are the challenges that we're having here. What do you think we can do to make it better? Let's have a conversation. Now, you know what you have done. It's the same thing you are asking the person, but you have now opened it up for the person to be involved in decision making. Right? When you are that, then do you think that you'd be able to do this, that? One of my fathers in the Lord told me that people usually do not want to be told what to do. They would rather want to decide to do what they have to do. So it is the same thing that you are doing, but rather throw it to them in a rhetoric. Okay. Let them rather decide to do. Then let them feel wanted. If these people don't feel wanted, you see, that's what I'm telling you, that the thing that you go through to be able to get them.
The reason I'm laughing is because most of our pastors feel like our youth people are too pampered. They want too much to grow. It's like them house a fear garden. Besides, you must give it. You must pay attention to water it. It's not like them one way they forest inside way. You just weed it after a while. You leave it alone. You go struggle. Then by the time you go fruit day, it's like they feel like we are too pampered. We there's too much. We need too much attention to, Is it like we are not getting the whole, because like some pastors feel like they found the zeal to serve God by themselves. Nobody had to push them. They have to find it themselves.
Yes.
But you see, you are talking about a generation where they won't find it themselves.
You see, there is this sermon that our general superintendent taught when they went for the key leaders meeting in tech, I think last year or last 2 years. And he did a very, very good work on the Gen Zs.
I think that was the first meeting that he did. Like the first one.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember.
I think pastors must go back and watch that again. Because we are saying that now the average age of the chunk of the people that we have in this country, the average age is between 19 and 21.
Yeah.
That tells you the generation you are dealing with in the future. If you don't understand their psyche, I read psychology, so I get that a little bit. If you don't understand their psyche and you think that you can use what used to work in the 80s, in the early 90s to work on the Gen Zs, it may not necessarily be so. Do you know why? Because you see, I grew up seeing my mother wake up at dawn and she would go to church. She would carry me along, even though I was young. We'll go to church at dawn. We'll go for dawn prayers in the church before we come back and prepare to go to school. Right. Sundays, how are you going to say that you don't go to church?
You will go.
You will go. Are you getting it? Now, these young people are growing up, even seeing their fathers not going to church.
Because of work.
Because of work. They are growing up, seeing their mothers labor from morning to evening. They never saw their mother even pray.
Practically true.
Are you getting it?
Yeah.
And children learn by observation than any other thing. So because they don't see this, they don't really see the essence and the importance. Again, they come to church and they see that when we say ministry is secluded to a few people who are known to be in ministry. But actually, may I define ministry as the pursuit of God's purpose for your life?
I believe
it is not secluded to this ministry. This is what these children are used to as ministry. So to them, subconsciously, their mind is that doing this work at church is not for everybody. Are you getting it?
If to the point that even like one of the weirdest thing I saw is like an Assemblies of God person who believes speaking in tongues is optional. Like how upset can it be? Like how bad can it be? Like that is where I feel like that's how the height of badness.
Did we teach them doctrine when they were in children ministry?
Well,
did we teach them doctrine when they were in children ministry? Yes, and those are cogent questions.
Yeah.
Those are cogent questions.
Or what was the quality of the Sunday school self and the teachers?
You get a thing.
Yeah.
Do we personally as church invest in training them? All that we know, district is having training. But do we also as local churches make sure that what we want our children to get, we have taught the teachers? And do we ensure that what we want to be taught are being taught? We are like the Ghanaian mathematics teacher who assumes that because he has taught, children have learned. But it differs. The fact that you taught does not mean the student has learned.
That is true.
Learning is defined as a relatively permanent change in behavior as a result of experience. Now, until you teach the person that it changes the way the person thinks, you have not taught the person. The person has not learned. You may have taught, but the person has not learned. But we assume that because that child came and she was happy and we gave that child biscuit and they taught something and the child was shouting, that was it. No. This is the time that we must go back to the base. We must go back to our doctrinal values, pick them up, ensure that we have taught them to our teachers, ensure that at least once in a year we have these things being repeated into the minds of these children, because that is our seventh pillar. Speaking in tongues.
Yeah, it's but I've the 14. Yes, I've
yes.
all of them.
If this person has been taught these things, while the person is growing up, now it becomes a foundation upon which he uses to critique every other knowledge of scripture that he gets. But this person has perhaps not been taught. And take note, even on our main pulpits, doctrinal issues.
Oh, yeah.
Are we sure we stress this as much as the people of old were doing? Yes, maybe we as a church will have to take a critical look at some of these things, because the next generation coming, while they are in your church, they are listening to 1,000 sermons on their phone.
That is where that's one of the things I feel like some of our pastors are not yet aware. Because, like, sometimes you can listen to your pastor preach a particular topic, and you have listened to somebody going deep into that topic. So as your pastor is speaking, you know exactly the in and out of that topic he's trying to teach.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
So just as the general superintendent some time ago said, like, we are not like our fathers.
Yeah.
We are very different.
Yeah.
So, like, it will take a little bit more patience and more time to actually get us there. But let's talk about this one. This is our last conversation. Like, every year, the national brings about a topic.
Okay.
What does AGCM do with the topic? Because I know for a fact all AGCM campuses run their own programs. They oftentimes have routine programs that they do every period in time.
Yeah.
How does AGCM carry the national agenda?
As in the national theme?
Yeah.
Okay, we obviously go with the national vision. Just that the challenge that AGCM has is because of our academic calendar. You see, our national themes usually comes within September, October. After General Council, that is when it comes out. And by then, the academic calendar for the spiritual and academic year for most chapters have already begun.
So it's the theme comes to meet.
Yes, the theme comes in the middle of when they have already started.
Okay.
And when they are starting, they have to have a vision, a theme that they are.
So they've already drawn their program.
So it makes it quite difficult for it to be done. So what now we try to do is that, yes, the region tries to run that with them, so that now, even though they have chosen a theme, so this year you have Pray Without Ceasing. So for my region like this, if you go through the chapters, you notice that the Pray Without Ceasing features in the program, subsequent program outlines, which came after the.
It's funny when you're saying this, it came to my, like, even in local churches, most of the national themes only are celebrated on the billboard and on the flyers and on the banners.
Well, for some of them,
but it does not get into the actual activity of the church.
And maybe that is where.
So I see, like, the same thing will play around in the AGCM.
That is where we would have to. But like I said, I may not be able to speak for other regions, but I'm very, very conscious about me. I always say we don't have anywhere to go. Assemblies of God is all we have. So we do all that it takes within our power by God's grace to ensure that what God wants to be done in this ministry is done. And that's my personal slogan that I always say. Do you get it? So that it's, unless maybe say you are a regional director and you say that you don't oversee programs and those things, right? Me, my region, when you are done with programs, you submit it to me. I look at them. I'll make suggestions. I'll make input. No, this topic, it does not work. No, my national theme has not featured in this. So this program, change this. Rather put this here. Rather put this here. Rather put this here. In this thing that you are doing, let it be there. Are you getting it? And that is the work of we, the regional coordinators. We might, because we have been appointed by Assemblies of God to ensure that this is done. So if we leave it, as for the students, they would want to do anything that they want. That is why the Constitution makes it in such a way that handing over and all those things, it is not a local chapter program. It is a national program. So we must get involved, get close to our executives, and ensure that whatever is going on, it is going on the way that Assemblies of God expects it to go to.
So let's end with this particular issue. AG leaders, how long do they serve? Like leadership in AGCM?
Leadership in AGCM.
Yeah.
Or leadership in AGCM. I think for most of our chapters, until you are done with school, you can serve as much as you want. That is if you are appointed.
you like it's appointed every year.
Every year.
So somebody can be appointed in the first
So
year,
in the first year, but you still go for vetting again.
third year,
Then
and it
third
can be
year,
in. What is the yardstick of measurement of the success of a particular tenure? Like, because I feel like most of the activities are very routine.
Yeah.
They have been seeing it. They came to meet it. It's quite repetitive.
Yeah.
What is the measurement of a ministry's, well, like a particular tenures, well, like Sussex, like
we don't really look at programs. See, and that is why I think if you do church administration, you want to use just programs to measure the success, you may get it wrong. Do you get it? Because you are talking about spiritual growth and you are talking about numerical growth, right? Those
spiritual
are the
numerical.
Spiritual and the numerical growth of your members that you see. I remember for some of our chapters, if you are consistent with your chapters, you get to know some of our chapters. You go there, and I notice that no, there is a drop because you see how you judge. How you judge will be when you go for veterans.
Mm-hmm.
You are asking them questions. These are the people who are going to be executives. The answers that they would give to some of the questions and the maturity questions that you are asking gives them away.
Mm-hmm.
Your interactions with the people, it gives them away that, oh, okay, we are lacking a little bit in spiritual growth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get it? You draw the attention of the new executives to it. Then you use that to progress, right? But this year, when our director came, what he has done is that for every chapter, when you come to office, you have to now bring in what you do. We want to see you do. Do you get it? Then we give you a target.
So that's at your original level?
Yes. So our director asks all the regional directors to do that. That's our national director.
Oh, okay.
So it's supposed to be something that is done. Yes, like I said, I may not be able to speak to other regions because I may not be at every chapter. But at least for my region, that is what I know we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so Legon. Okay, when you came, your number was X number. We expect that you double the number up to this time. Are you getting it? Now we see that the spiritual growth is not like this. We expect that. So when we have that, that informs the input that we make into the programs that they will do. It informs the topics that we do. Are you getting it? For us last year, we decided that doctrine was something that we are having issues with in many of our chapters and even among our youth. So if you look at the programs that many of the chapters in our region did, you notice that the topics were basically doctrinal issues. And we made sure that these ones, we are not going to bring an outsider of AG to come and do that because we are talking about Assemblies of God doctrines, not.
Is it that's what even brings my challenge that if we are trying to project the Assemblies of God doctrine and somebody is in Assemblies of God campus ministry who has not been in Assemblies of God before, how can the person actually project the doctrine?
Oh, one of the requirements of being a member is that you believe and accept the doctrines of Assemblies of God. If you agree with it, that is it. Because
is it agreement on face value or actually being?
But now Assemblies of God membership, right? How does one become a member? It is obviously a form you pick. When the person comes, active membership, you give in the person a form. What do? You ask the person questions. The person says yes. You take it. You ask her questions to ascertain. When you are done, the church board or the leadership takes the person through an interview, right?
Do you in the process of vetting, do you actually verify background where the person is Assemblies of God in Kumasi?
We do.
You verify.
We do.
Okay.
We do a lot that good. Like I said, I would also still issue the disclaimer. I can only speak for my region. Because when you go for vettings, let's say in Greater Accra West, you already have a bit of profile kakra. So you know, okay, this person. You are lucky enough that for many of the people, when they come, the churches that they attend, you already know somebody over there.
Okay, so you call to confirm.
So you call, like, there was somebody in your church. I called Michelle and I was like, there's this guy who has come here. This. Anna.
Yeah.
I called her. I was like, oh, Anna, my baby. This. I asked, how is she? This. You get it then. So that at least you have a bit of fair idea because you're entrusting people into their hands. And like Paul wrote to Timothy, the person must not be a novice. Must be a husband of one wife. So on campus, when we are doing that, we tell them that You can't be dating this person, X person, and expect that you become an executive here. It doesn't work like that. Do you get it? So if you be able to know these things, what do? You have to do background search. So we do background on their life on campus. One. Then if you are lucky enough to have somebody even beyond where they are, you also do all those things and ensure that you are giving it to the right person. Then when you are done, obviously, I did not pretending to say who will say that. Don't assume that work will be done. Make sure that work is done.
Okay, so like finally, I want you to talk to all AGCM, talk to all AGCM executives, because some of them feel like the national doesn't support, but they demand quota. Some of them feel like, they are the kind of the way they want to drive the ministry, like some of them to have no experience and they are expected to do certain things and then they don't know how to go about it, like meeting people for once in a year to tell them what you're expected to do. Sometimes it's good, but it doesn't suffice for enough training. So I want you to in a few minutes talk to an AGCM executive, something that you want to tell them. Please, I want you to watch camera.
I think basically the first group of people that you will look up to will be our directors, right, for the wonderful work that we are doing. And I think this brings to bear the enormous task and the work that we have to do. We have to be, like we always say, close and closer to our people to know the challenges that they face day in, day out. Do you get it? Now to our chapters, just as we always tell you, right? Ministry, as long as we are in ministry, we would always have a need. That is not to say that you don't need the help that you think you need. But we belong to an organization, and I always say that once you find yourself within there, we have to ensure that we make it work within how it is. Let's strengthen our bond with our alumni. They are very, very good source. And I believe that going forward, if there is any help that region or national should also offer onto us, especially in our missions activities and other things that we do, I know that over time, you'd also get that help. But don't feel that it's because you don't have money and somebody is asking you to pay quota. No. Quota, you know how it is determined. You submit the number of people that you have, your cafes and all those things. Then we use that to determine. That is what the National Directorate also used to run the activities of the region and national as well. So I know it's difficult. I know it's usually not easy. But I think our directors will come down more. We will do a greater work, and we trust in you. We know you are doing a tremendous work for the Lord. So keep on soldiering on. Keep on doing wonderful work for the Lord. God richly bless you. AGCM, our mission would always be missions, and we will reach the unreached by all means possible. Thank you.
Okay, so you were listening to the conversation with the AGCM regional executive. In fact, it's good to know, because sometimes the work of ministry is very difficult. Sometimes it's more difficult than you think. And I've seen many youth AGCM executives come home and actually perform lesser than they were. Is it because you were too excited in campus? Sometimes the excitement of campus, seeing your fellow young person call you, oh, Mama J or Papa, that thing. Maybe it a little bit gives you a false idea of what ministry is. It's not a celebration. Ministry is a lot of work. When you come home, your pastors will instruct you. The deacons will correct you. They will direct you. They will insist on things being done a certain way. You can't go here. You can't do this. There's a lot of restrictions. But despite all that, ministry is good when we understand what we are doing.
Yeah.
And we do it in the way it's supposed to be done.
And you grow through it.
And you grow through it, actually. Yeah. I think it's true. You actually grow.
It's a good training.
And you will become something. And I feel like if you are in AGCM and you don't have any relationship with the youth, then you are not ready for what's going to happen to you. Especially if you're executive and you are not having any relationship with the youth ministry, you will struggle as you are climbing forward, because you won't understand who we are. Because AGCM is very different from youth ministry in terms of how things are done, the kind of people. Because AGCM is almost like a conversation of elite people who have knowledge
Obviously.
in power.
Obviously.
But youth ministry is very different. There are those who don't know anything like you know. There are those who know more than you. There are those who don't know at all. There are those whose bias are very different. But then, how do you convince all these people to rally in that one direction? That is where you need to be a member of a youth ministry. Maybe in future, AGCM will become a youth property. Let's hope. So we will talk again
Maybe
another
in future
time.
will become a special ministry.